This 2,000-year-old wall were the most powerful people in the world: popes, spiritual leaders, presidents, heads of state, and billionaires. Pray to God is the source of a 77-letter secret that can make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. And it only requires from you to do one thing. It has nothing to do with who you know, how hard you work, what education you have, investing money, using technology, or setting up a business. This is also something you can't Google. You won't even find a hint of this one thing on the dark web, where the most guarded secrets on planet Earth can be bought or sold. In fact, this one thing is already inside you. And until a rabbi recruited by the CIA revealed the findings of a highly classified research to me, I didn't know how powerful this one thing was either. What you are about to learn and the undeniable proof you are about to see will make you question reality. I must warn you though, what you will witness in this presentation might awaken strong emotions. You might even feel robbed by the elites from God's intended gift to humanity. You will learn how the revelations of a book published in 1997, the most controversial book of modern times, set the countdown towards the most explosive discovery of our lifetime, hidden and encoded under this wall, a 77-letter invocation prayer, and is about to change your life completely. You will also learn how a leading neurologist, Dr. Shmueli, proved beyond doubt that when reciting this 77-letter invocation prayer, a true miracle happens inside our brain. Billions of new neural connections form, making you a human magnet of unlimited wealth, health, and abundance in every single area of your life. Yes, science is now confirming what ancient Eastern teachings have touted for centuries, that if you activate this one thing inside you, that you can attract money and wealth effortlessly. And every human on planet Earth has the power to do so. This is no game. If all you care about is self-enrichment, this might not be for you. This is not why God decided this is the time to gift us. And trust me, as you will see with your own eyes, there is a reason why God decided now is the time. If you are a person who believes that inequality and unfair wealth accumulation by the elites needs to be stopped, and those who have been enslaved, because really, there is no better word for what has been going on in society, then this is the right place for you. You will be rewarded with infinite wealth, happiness, and unconditional abundance. Hi, my name is Richard. Until not long ago, my life was going nowhere. I was approaching my 40s, stuck in a never-ending cycle of hardship, and it felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I had always been a hard-working man, holding down 2 jobs just to make ends meet. But no matter how many hours I put in, it seemed like I could never get ahead. It was a constant battle to barely keep our heads above water. One of the most agonizing aspects of my situation was my inability to provide my wife with the life she deserved. She never complained, but I could sense it in her eyes, the pain and worry about where our family was headed. It killed me to see her silent suffering. But you know what really broke me and shattered my spirit into 1,000 pieces? An incident involving my 11-year-old daughter. Her class had organized a school trip, and each parent was required to contribute $450 for their child to participate. It was a significant sum, and I simply didn't have it. When I looked into my daughter's eyes, and she realized that she couldn't go on the trip like her friends, my heart broke into 1,000,000 pieces. I saw the disappointment in her face, and it was a pain I couldn't bear. I felt like a failure as a father. My inability to provide even this simple pleasure for my child was a crushing blow. Simply put, I had no life and no prospects for the future. The idea of sending my only child to college was an impossible dream. I couldn't see a way out of the financial hole I had dug myself into. It was a hopeless situation, and I felt like I was drowning in despair. At the peak of it all, I remember it clearly as if it was yesterday. I decided I needed to talk to someone. I just could not take it anymore. It was around 10 p.m. when I called my best friend Robin and just broke down. I told him I needed to talk with someone, and I needed this urgently. Robin worked at this yeshiva. He immediately said, "Richard, come over now. I have to go get something for the yeshiva. If I'm not here when you come, just wait for me." He continued. I rushed over to the yeshiva. By the way, a yeshiva is a place of Jewish learning, a center of religious study and education. As I entered, I felt this sense of calm. The silence was really soothing. I looked for Robin, but couldn't find him. While waiting for him to come back, I decided to walk around the empty halls a bit to clear my mind. I found myself standing in front of a classroom door, slightly open. I pushed it open gently, and inside I spotted a man busy packing his books and belongings into a bag. He looked up when he heard the door creak and said with a warm smile,
"You must be Richard."
I was taken aback for a moment, wondering how he knew my name. Later, I found out Robin told him about me. Still, I managed to nod and replied, "Yes, I am. I'm waiting for Robin." The man extended his hand, introducing himself.
"I'm Rabbi David, by the way. I teach Hasidic studies down here."
As Rabbi David continued to pack his things, a paper fell to the floor.
"Oh, thank you."
The rabbi said as I handed him the paper that fell on the floor. I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't written in English, that's for sure. "What language is that in?" I asked, pointing at the paper.
"Oh, that's Hebrew."
The rabbi replied, his eyes twinkling with intrigue. I was curious about the paper and the language it was written in, but before I could ask, Rabbi David shifted the conversation.
"Have you ever read the Bible Code?"
He asked me. I knew about the book, but that was about it. "No, I haven't, sorry," I replied, feeling a bit embarrassed about my lack of knowledge. The rabbi smiled reassuringly.
"No need to apologize. The Bible Code is a fascinating subject. You see, it refers to a theory that certain holy books, including the Bible, have hidden codes concealed within their texts."
As he spoke, Rabbi David leaned against a nearby desk, his eyes never leaving mine.
"These codes,"
he continued,
"were discovered decades ago by religious scholars and researchers using a method known as equidistant letter sequencing, or ELS for short.
Intrigued, I leaned in closer, eager to learn more. "I've never heard of ELS. How does it work?" I asked. The rabbi nodded, clearly pleased to share his knowledge.
"It's quite fascinating, really. You start by selecting a starting point in a text, say the first or second letter of a sequence. Then you take these letters and use them to create a new word. For example," he continued, "you could take every fourth letter in the phrase, 'This sentence fits an ELS.' If you did that, you'd get the letters T, S, E, F, A, and S. Now, if you read those letters backwards, you get the word safest."
I started grasping the concept. "So you're essentially extracting letters at equal intervals from a text to create new words or messages?" I asked.
"Precisely.
Rabbi David affirmed.
That's the essence of ELS, a systematic approach used to decipher concealed messages within sacred texts. In reality, it's much more complicated. More so when you think of the huge text blocks encountered in the Bible."
He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a hushed tone.
"What I'm about to share with you is highly confidential, Richard. You see, I was recruited by a top-secret program, a program created by the CIA. This program came into existence because advancements in AI and machine learning had finally given us the tools to decipher the Bible codes that had long remained undecipherable."
Rabbi David went on to explain how his expertise in ancient languages and sacred texts had led him to join this research group. His role was critical, serving as the bridge between the ancient world and modern technology.
"With my guidance,"
he continued,
"the team developed algorithms that could replicate the intuitive leaps of the human mind. These algorithms understood the subtleties and context of the biblical Hebrew language, a task that was previously thought impossible."
His eyes sparkled with a hint of excitement as he spoke.
"My deep knowledge of Kabbalistic mysticism also played a significant role. It provided unique insights into the symbolic and numerical patterns believed to be the keys to the code."
I was in complete shock from what I was hearing. My mind began to race with questions. But what I really wanted to know was what kind of messages have been discovered using this method. The rabbi leaned in with a hint of excitement in his eyes.
"The truly astounding part is that these messages have been known to predict certain events, many of which have come to pass. One of the most notable predictions was about the 9/11 terrorist attacks."
He reached into his bag and pulled out a document with Hebrew text.
"Take a look at this translation from Hebrew,"
he said, pointing to various words.
Highlighted in yellow, the word airplane. Highlighted in blue, it knocked down. In purple, the word towers. In green, twins. And in gray, the word twice.
I was in disbelief. "So, the Bible code predicted the 9/11 attacks?" I asked.
"That's right, and not just that. It even mentioned Osama bin Laden by name in these prophecies."
He pointed to another section of the text showing the words destruction. "I will name you. Cursed is bin Laden, and revenge belongs to the Messiah."
In November 4th, 1995, the Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin, was assassinated by an individual named Yigal Amir. As you can see here, highlighted in yellow, Yitzhak Rabin. In blue will assassinate, and highlighted in orange the word Amir, which is the last name of the assassin.
Even more remarkable, these Bible codes predicted the coronavirus pandemic. Here is Rabbi Matityahu Glazerson explaining.
What we are going to show you today is an interesting table about the corona, the virus meeting of corona, as you can see here in green. Corona comes here, corona, and ever me'achai, and limb from the living. The limb for living, this is really the cause for this virus, and virus comes also here, virus.
My mind was reeling from this revelation. This is incredible, Rabbi. But how does all this tie into what Robin told you about my problems? The rabbi paused, his gaze thoughtful.
It's all interconnected, Richard. You see, the Western Wall, the Bible Code, and the Dead Sea Scrolls are pieces of a puzzle that I believe hold the key to understanding and manifesting your desires.
The Western Wall? I repeated, remembering how Rabbi David had asked about my knowledge of it earlier.
Yes, the Western Wall is the last remnant of the ancient Jewish temple. It has stood for over 2,000 years. Despite wars, conquests, and countless other events, the wall has remained standing. It even withstood the brutal onslaught when the Romans razed Jerusalem in 70 AD.
I truly marveled at the historical significance of the Western Wall. It's almost as if God wanted it to survive, I said to the rabbi. The rabbi nodded in agreement.
Exactly, Richard. Many consider it a true miracle, but what most people don't know is that in certain areas, the wall is covered in carvings written in ancient Hebrew.
Carvings? What kind of carvings? I asked.
The Western Wall has been the subject of countless archaeological and scientific studies. And here's where it gets interesting. Most of the wall is actually hidden below the surface, containing dozens of tunnels and rooms. Archaeologists have discovered relics like pottery and coins, but the most intriguing find is the massive Western Stone.
What's so special about the Western Stone? I asked the rabbi. At this point I was extremely curious, I have to say. Rabbi David's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm.
It's nothing short of a miracle, Richard. This stone is 45 feet long, 12 feet high, and has a depth of 14 feet. It weighs almost 600 tons, equivalent to nearly 200 elephants or two 747 jumbo jets fully loaded.
My jaw dropped at the sheer magnitude of it. How did they even move such a colossal stone? I asked him. The rabbi shook his head with this expression filled with wonder.
No one knows, Richard. Archaeologists, mathematicians, physicists, they've all tried to unravel the mystery, but it remains unsolved. The largest single stone in the ancient pyramids of Egypt only weighs 40 tons. The Western Stone is 6 times that weight. The only explanation is that it's a miracle. This stone was created with the help of God, or by God himself, to protect the Jewish people during the Roman siege in 70 AD. Even when Roman soldiers pushed stones down from the Western Wall, they couldn't handle the Western Stone. They kept carving into it but got nowhere, eventually giving up.
I couldn't help but be amazed by the story of the Western Stone and its historical significance. And part of it is covered in Hebrew text carvings too? I asked.
Yes, part of the stone is covered in carvings, and that's where it becomes even more intriguing. The connection to the Dead Sea Scrolls becomes apparent.
Dead Sea Scrolls? I echoed, recalling his mention of them earlier.
Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient texts discovered in caves near the Dead Sea. Many contain texts that are also found in the Bible, making them the oldest surviving biblical canons.
Here is Penina Shore from the Israeli Antiques Authority.
This is the most exciting part from one of the copies of the Book of Deuteronomy because it contains all 10 commandments.
I nodded, understanding the significance. So, what's the connection between the Western Wall and the Dead Sea Scrolls? Rabbi David smiled, knowingly.
The connection lies in a new scroll that was discovered beneath the Western Wall. After initial analysis, it was concluded that this scroll may have once been part of the original set of Dead Sea Scrolls, but it was moved for reasons unknown.
What makes this scroll different from the others? I asked him.
This scroll, Richard,
the rabbi said with a hint of excitement,
is not about religious practices or biblical stories. Instead, it speaks about the Kabbalah.
The Kabbalah? I asked, recalling his earlier mention.
Yes, the Kabbalah is a religious tradition that translates loosely as mysticism or knowledge. Followers believe in the unfathomable and profound ways in which the divine operates, and they have practices designed to deepen their connection with God.
So, Why is this scroll so fascinating? I asked the rabbi.
The scroll was written by an ancient holy man named Ezekiel. He claimed to have powers from God, a direct gift, he claimed. With these powers, he believed he could obtain anything on earth. The scroll spoke of an invocation, a prayer of sorts. Reciting this invocation was said to be the key to connecting with God and unlocking these mystic powers.
My curiosity deepened. Did they find the invocation? The rabbi leaned in closer, a glint of excitement in his eyes.
Yes, they did, Richard. They started searching every inch of the area surrounding the western wall, suspecting that the invocation might be hidden in the text carvings on the western stone. But there was a problem. You see, they discovered that the stone was secretly covered with codes of several invocations, and it was confusing.
So, how did they figure out which one was the right invocation? I asked. The rabbi sighed, his expression filled with determination.
Well, that's where the real challenge started. We had to test all of them.
That's a long process of trial and error, I remarked, empathizing with their struggle.
It was. We had a team of 13 members, and they tackled 37 plausible variations one by one. It was meticulous, time-consuming work.
What baffled me was the certainty surrounding this specific invocation and its supposed efficacy. Rabbi David's explanation left me in a state of shock. He spoke of the so-called elites, a tiny, powerful fraction of society. But what was truly astonishing was his claim that within this exclusive group, there are about 30-40 individuals who exert immense control over global affairs. According to Rabbi David, these individuals have access to the 77-letter invocation prayer. I asked him how could such a thing be possible. He admitted that the origins and the transmission of this knowledge were shrouded in mystery. It seemed to have been passed down through generations, from one chosen individual to another. As I asked him more about his sources and how he came to know of such secretive information, Rabbi David cautioned me. He suggested that there were certain things better left unknown, for safety's sake. However, he firmly believed that the extraordinary power and wealth possessed by these elite individuals were a direct result of using the 77-letter invocation prayer. It really got me mad thinking that such a small group of people had so much power. But at the same time, it explained a lot of things. If you ever wondered how 1% of the world's population generated more wealth than 99% in the last 2 years, now you know. Anyway, I wanted to know if they found the right invocation. I leaned forward with anticipation. So, did they find the right invocation? I asked.
No, they didn't.
Rabbi David replied. What happened? I immediately asked. The rabbi sighed deeply.
Actually, that's not entirely accurate. They did make progress, but only partially. You see, the Dead Sea Scroll hinted that the invocation should be 77 letters long, but the one they suspected was the right one had only 52 letters. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't figure out the remaining 15 letters.
Just as I was about to further question Rabbi David, Robin entered the room, interrupting my train of thought. However, this interruption gave me an idea. Robin's nephew, Daniel, immediately came to mind. He was 26, a quiet yet astoundingly brilliant young man diagnosed with a type of autism known as Asperger's. Despite being sought after by leading tech companies, Daniel preferred to work independently on his own innovative projects. He loved hanging out in the dark web. This sparked an idea. If Rabbi David could provide me with the invocation, maybe Daniel could figure it out. I knew the chances were almost non-existent, but it gave me some hope for my family's future. I was desperate. I had to try. It was a long shot, but I had nothing to lose. I asked Rabbi David if he could write down the invocation for me. Understanding my situation and knowing he no longer had any obligations to the CIA, he agreed. He figured it was harmless since no one had been able to decipher the last 15 letters of the invocation anyway. Walking out of the yeshiva with Robin, I could sense his confusion. He had no idea about the invocation or my plan. Take me home, I'll explain everything in the car, I told him. The following day, we arrived at Daniel's house where I laid out the entire story. He was in shock, but amazingly he loved the challenge, so I handed him the partially deciphered invocation. He asked us to come back 3 days later. I remember it was a Tuesday. We went back to Daniel's house. He explained that he noticed something intriguing that everyone else had missed. The problem wasn't just about the missing 15 letters. It was deeper, rooted in the complex methodology of ELS. The existing 52-letter sequence didn't align perfectly with standard ELS methodologies. It was as if the sequence was incomplete or incorrectly spaced. Daniel hypothesized that the original scribes who crafted the invocation might have used a unique, perhaps more complex ELS pattern. This pattern could involve varying letter skips or even multi-layered sequences, something not commonly seen in traditional ELS studies. Using his ingenuity and an AI program from the dark web, Daniel decided to approach the problem from a fresh angle. He fed the existing text block from where the 52-letter sequence was extracted into the AI, instructing it to analyze the text using a multi-layered sequence approach. After extensive analysis and several iterations, the AI identified a potential pattern where the first layer used a standard skip sequence, and the subsequent layers involved variable skips based on specific numerical values hidden within the text itself. This breakthrough was monumental. It not only filled in the gaps of the missing 15 letters, but also restructured the existing 52 in a way that they formed a coherent, meaningful invocation when read through this newly discovered ELS pattern. During the next 5 days, I recited the invocation once a day. Based on everything I've heard and learned up until this point, it had to work. It didn't. Nothing happened. I thought maybe it was a matter of time, so I continued reciting it for 10 more days. Nothing. I went back to Rabbi David and told him everything that has happened in the past 3 weeks or so.
Amazing, Richard. I had a feeling about you, and I wasn't wrong. Richard, always remember the following sentence. You can only know how strong you are when being strong is the only option you have.
He continued with a smile. Thank you, Rabbi. But seems that no matter what I do, I can never get ahead. It's like I'm cursed or something, I told him. He kept smiling, and I wasn't sure why. Here I am telling him how I failed, how nothing is going my way. And he smiles.
Richard, do you know what the difference between a prayer and an invocation prayer is?
No, sorry, I don't, I replied.
Okay, here is an essential distinction to understand if you're set on manifesting your destiny.
He explained to me that many people turn to prayer, especially in challenging times. Prayer is a deeply personal spiritual practice, a conversation with the divine, seeking guidance, comfort, or assistance. Its value and importance in countless lives are undeniable. However, what we're discussing here is the unique nature of invocation prayer. Unlike regular prayer, which is often a reflective dialogue or request, invocation prayer is about summoning or calling forth with a sense of purpose and assertiveness. It's a more direct, active approach. Consider the difference as one between having a conversation and making a specific, direct request. It's not that one is ineffective or lesser. They simply serve different purposes and come from different traditions and understandings of the divine. Invocation prayer is about channeling your intent and desire in a focused, direct manner to the divine. You're engaging with a higher power in a more deliberate way. Invocation prayers are about making a direct petition.
Richard, here is what I want you to do. Go back home and recite the invocation prayer once a day for 3 days. But this time, before reciting it, make a direct petition. And when you make that direct petition, make sure you really want what you are asking for.
I rushed back home, took a warm bath, relaxed, and tried it again. This time, before reciting the 77-letter invocation prayer, I asked God for financial abundance in my life in a very simple and straightforward manner. Actually, these were my exact words. God, please send financial abundance into my life as soon as possible. I did this for 3 days before going to bed. On day 4, I got a call from my mother. She rarely calls as she doesn't like talking over the phone, so I figured it was something important. One of my uncles from my father's side had died and left me a small fortune. Now get this, not only had we not spoken for years, but he had 12 other family members he could have left the inheritance to, or at least part of it. The incredible thing was, he made me the beneficiary of his will just 2 days ago. He actually changed the will, which was made over a year ago, 48 hours before passing away. What's more, all this happened exactly during the time I was reciting the invocation prayer. This was truly a miracle, and I can't even begin to tell you how powerful it felt. I just hoped it wasn't just pure luck. It wasn't. A few days later, something happened that convinced me for good. I was at a local coffee shop when I received a call from a leading documentary producer in New York. Around 8 months back, I had applied for a job at a prestigious media production company. Never heard back from them. They now wanted to give me the job. I couldn't believe it. The salary was 3 times what I was earning, and the perks were amazing. I invoked wealth, and wealth I got, and plenty of it. I felt so empowered I can't even put it into words. I suddenly had so much confidence that I decided to do something that a few months ago I wouldn't dare. I had some money on the side. Nothing big, only $3,500. A close friend was nagging me to buy a plot of land in this state auction. He said it has amazing potential, and the price was a joke. I decided to go for it. Exactly 3 weeks and 4 days afterwards, I got an offer for $145,000 from a local developer. What happened was, right after I purchased the land, it was rezoned from agricultural to commercial. I'm telling you, and this is no joke, I literally pinched myself just to make sure I wasn't in some dream. I mean, think about it. Just 1 month after I started with the 77-letter invocation prayer, I inherited a 7-figure sum. I also made over $140,000 from selling some land I didn't know much about. And on top of all this, I was about to start a job that pays 3 times what I used to earn. I'm telling you, I couldn't recognize my own life. A month ago, I didn't have money to pay the utility bills. I couldn't even buy my own daughter a McDonald's meal because every single dollar went to stuff that was truly necessary. And now, all this. The very first thing I did was to share the 77-letter invocation with close friends I knew were in a tough place in their life. One of these was my buddy Tom, whom I've known since 10th grade back in high school, who was a struggling used car salesman. He was on the verge of being fired due to poor sales. I decided to give him the invocation. The very next week, he sold 19 cars, each with an average commission of $700. He ended the month with 92 cars sold and a whopping $64,000 in commissions. Mind you, before all this, he barely sold 15 cars per month. He's now a sales trainer for his region and earns 7 figures a year. Then there's my wife's friend Jane, who is a struggling writer. Despite being talented, she couldn't get any deal. All she received from publishing companies were rejection letters. She tried paying for an agent, but it was pointless. She even tried to self-publish on Amazon, but nothing. I gave her the invocation as well. After only 11 days, she heard back from a publishing company and was given a book deal. But that's just the beginning. The deal included royalties, with the percentage increasing as book sales rose. She would receive a 7.5% commission for up to 20,000 copies sold. From 20,001 to 40,000 copies, the commission would increase to 9%. Now, get this. For sales over 40,000 copies, the commission would jump to 15%. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why offer such escalating rates? Simple. It's a tactic used by book publishing companies to take advantage of writers. They are aware of how challenging it is to sell large quantities, betting that most authors will never reach the highest tier. On paper, it makes the deal look more attractive. Too bad for them, because in the first 4 months, the book sold 290,000 copies. She's now a best-selling author with at least $1 million in the bank and travels around the world. Then there's my friend Samantha. She went through a tough divorce. Unfortunately, she had trouble getting pregnant, which was hard on her marriage. But just 3 weeks after she started reciting the 77-letter invocation, she met this amazing guy, Jerry. She was upfront about not being able to have kids, but Jerry didn't mind. He loved her anyway. They got married in April. Then, in mid-May, she got unbelievable news from her doctor. She was pregnant, the most precious gift from God. Needless to say, I constantly updated Rabbi David on everything that was going on. One day, he called me.
Richard, I need a favor from you if possible, of course.
He said. Needless to say, I told him he can count on me on whatever he needs. Rabbi David said that these miracles, this amazing abundance, manifested by every person just by reciting the 77-letter invocation was something so incredible. He wanted to dig deeper to learn more about what is going on. Remember I mentioned his background in Kabbalah studies? Well, he explained to me that Kabbalah teaches that by raising our personal vibrational frequency, we can significantly impact the abundance and prosperity that flows into our lives. According to this ancient wisdom, everything in the universe, including our thoughts, feelings, and actions, emits vibrations. These vibrations resonate with the energy of the cosmos, attracting similar frequencies. When we elevate our vibrations, we align more closely with the frequencies of abundance and success. By doing so, we become magnets for wealth, health, and happiness, drawing these blessings closer to us. The reason why most people are unable to manifest anything is because their vibration is too low. It doesn't match what they are trying to manifest. In fact, when your vibrational levels are high, it's possible through brain scans to detect significant activity, particularly in the pineal gland and areas of the brain responsible for the subconscious mind, both being centers of higher consciousness and vibrational sensitivity. It's even possible to see an explosion in new activity, which is truly magical. When your vibration increases, you start to achieve harmony with the universe. You find yourself getting lucky, meeting the right people, and making more money. The higher your vibration, the greater the value of what you'll attract into your life. Basically, whoever has the highest vibration gets the attention of the universe first. The problem is raising these vibrations. Based on this knowledge from the Kabbalah, Rabbi David suggested that we do brain scans for those who I shared the invocation prayer with. The findings were nothing short from spectacular. In each and every scan, we could see literally millions of new neural connections forming and an extremely high vibrational state. In fact, Rabbi David mentioned that Dr. Shmueli, the doctor who performed these scans, was in shock. After looking at the results of the first scan, Dr. Shmueli thought it was a mistake, but when seeing that all scans were the same, he was in complete disbelief. Reciting the 77-letter invocation led to the formation of these millions of new neural connections and the high vibrational state, a miracle in every sense of the word. This directly explains why those who recited it were able to manifest health, wealth, love, and anything else they desired. 4 months later, we moved to the Bahamas. I was set on giving my wife and children the best life I could. I wanted to make it up for them, for all the suffering and pain we all went through during the years of being helpless. We bought a house with an amazing ocean view. I sent my kids to a private school and helped Janet, my wife, start her own restaurant. But there was another reason why I moved to the Bahamas. Rabbi David was 73 years old and told me that if he was a bit younger, he would make sure the 77-letter invocation prayer would get to as many people as possible. He asked me to do it. He said that God has given us this opportunity, and we need to spread it as far and wide as possible. The only way you can do that is through the internet. This way, I can reach millions of people. Unfortunately, this does take time and money. And by the way, over 90% of the money I get goes exclusively to this project. I'm not making any profit here, but this isn't a problem. I'm a lot more concerned with carrying out this mission. Spreading the word and helping people with their problems is far more important. I've received God's blessings, and now I want to share those blessings with other people. After all, it would be wrong of me to keep this stuff to myself. This is why I want to spread the 77-letter invocation as far and wide as possible. But before I do that, I must warn you. Once word got out that we managed to decipher the invocation, greedy and very powerful people decided to do anything they can to stop us from spreading God's gift. And I don't have to tell you why. You probably understand by now. These people have a vested interest in keeping you poor and enslaved. You see, these people's lives are built on slavery. The last thing they want is true equality. If that happened, then their lives of luxury and power would disappear overnight. That's why they don't want me sharing this information with the public. In fact, I already have evidence that they're interfering with my life. They hacked my phone 6 times. But one thing I know is that, just like the Western Wall, God is also protecting me. This is why I continue to push on with spreading God's wishes, despite these threats. Sometimes I think to myself how much easier and safer my life would be if I kept it all quiet, using the 77-letter invocation only for myself. But I believe this sacrifice is worth every moment of worry, every sleepless night, and every ounce of stress. The point I'm trying to make is that this really isn't about money. If my life were solely about money, I could easily invoke God for as much wealth as I wished and receive it. Plus, there are tons of rich people who would like to become even richer. I'm talking about the 6-figure earners who want to become millionaires, and millionaires who want to be billionaires. I could easily sell the 77-letter invocation to them for $5,000 or even $10,000, but I won't do this. And that's because I have a spiritual mission that is more important than any amount of money. Many so-called spiritual gurus selling you junk with inflated price tags would laugh at me. Not to my face, of course, but privately they would say, I'm an idiot. All I need is enough money to keep this operation afloat. As long as it's afloat, God's gift can reach those who truly need it. Not until long ago, the price was $69, but I managed to lower my operational costs by becoming more efficient. That allowed me to also reduce the price of the 77-letter invocation, which I am really happy about because I know how hard things are for most people right now. I am humbly requesting a contribution of only $37. That's it. But let me share something truly significant. In addition to the new life of abundance you're about to embrace in every sense of the word, your contribution will help extend God's gifts to others by allowing me to continue operating this website. It's your way of honoring and furthering God's wishes. Together, we are all contributing what we can to disseminate His divine message. I am committed to operating this mission with minimal costs to ensure it's accessible to as many people as possible, and your modest contribution aids in spreading the message further, supporting the diligent efforts of Rabbi David. Let us all be grateful for the precious gift of life that God has bestowed upon us. And when you consider the miraculous 77-letter invocation that God has now allowed us to decipher, contributing becomes the least we can do to show our gratitude for this divine revelation. Imagine unlocking the power of the universe. The moment you start reciting this invocation, You're tapping into a divine force that transforms your life instantly. While others toil away, working exhaustive shifts or investing a fortune in education to climb just one step on the corporate ladder, you will be welcoming the abundance of everything you've ever desired. Money flowing into your life like an unending river, simply because you recited a 77-letter secret that was hidden from humanity until now. Imagine love rushing towards you faster than you ever thought possible, filling your life with joy and companionship. Picture invoking health for yourself and your loved ones and watching as well-being and vitality become your new reality. But with this immense power comes a gentle reminder: tread lightly and with reverence. The bounty of the universe is at your fingertips, yet it requires a heart that respects the sanctity of this divine gift. It's tempting, almost irresistible to keep asking for more when you see your dreams manifesting before your eyes. However, I trust in your wisdom and restraint. I trust you will know the balance of abundance and humility. I want you to promise me, or you know what, scratch that. I want you to promise yourself that you will embrace this miraculous invocation with responsibility. It won't be easy, I know. It will be tempting, especially if you've had a tough life like so many others. I was there. It's like running in place, never really getting anywhere, no matter how hard you sweat. You're up early grinding all day, only to be buried under bills and debts by night. It feels like you're fighting a losing battle, right? Every time you think you're about to catch a break, something else hits you. A busted tire, a doctor's bill, or everything just getting more expensive. It feels unfair, doesn't it? Like you were set up to fail from the start. So when you start seeing the change, when the tide turns and abundance flows your way, take a moment, breathe, reflect. Yes, enjoy it, relish it, but also respect it. Promise yourself to use this gift wisely, not just for the thrill of accumulation, but for the joy of a well-lived, balanced life. Remember, the true value of this journey isn't just in the wealth you accumulate, but in the person you become while managing it. After years of hardship, the real victory is in mastering the art of contentment and generosity, even amidst plenty. So, as you step into this new abundant life, hold on to your humility, stay grounded, be thoughtful, and above all, be grateful. You've been given a second chance, a shot at a life of plenty, but how you handle it, that's entirely up to you. Make it count. Waking up every morning has become a true joy for me, because the first thing I do is rush to my email inbox knowing it will be filled with brand new stories of transformation. Take, for example, Leah, a graphic designer from Denver, who was close to giving up on her dreams due to the cutthroat competition. After reciting the 77-letter invocation, she landed a contract with a major tech company. Her designs are now seen by millions, earning a high six-figure salary and leading a team of creative minds. Olivia took her local bakery in Savannah, which for years was going nowhere, to unheard-of success. From working alone and doing everything herself, she now employs 6 people and crossed $1 million in revenue within just 6 months. Henry, a school teacher, hated his life. He hated how it turned out. He told me he was about to give up before welcoming the divine magic of the 77-letter invocation. He now runs 3 Amazon shops, making over $100,000 per month in profit and living the life he always wanted. Marcus has a great story. He is an inventor. Before he started, he had 63 patents to his name and 0 deals. No one wanted to buy the rights to any of his patents. Exactly 3 days after invoking to God, he got a call from one of the top 3 tech companies in the world. They offered to buy one of his patents for $9 million, plus ongoing royalties for life. And I have to tell you about Clara. She grew up with very little in Emporia, Kansas. She had a small stall selling homemade jams and jellies for about 3 years and going nowhere. 6 days after reciting the 77-letter invocation, a man visited her stall. She didn't know it back then, but this man was the lead buyer of a huge supermarket chain in Germany. He was visiting Emporia because his wife's brother was getting married there. Anyway, he liked her product so much, he offered her a deal worth $700,000 in complete production support. These stories aren't just about wealth or success. They're about breaking free from the chains of despair and realizing that a life of abundance is within reach. As I read each letter, I'm filled with an overwhelming sense of gratitude and responsibility to continue sharing and guiding more souls on their journey to fulfillment and abundance. It's not just about the material gains, but the smiles, the newfound confidence, and the lit spark in each person's eyes. That's the true reward. You are on the verge of a life-changing moment right now. You're in a crossroad. The choice you make will have a profound impact on your life. This is a pivotal point. On one side is the same old tough road you know too well. Endless hard work with nothing to show for it, drowning in bills and feeling the hurt every time a chance at something better slips through your fingers. It's the same routine, where every day feels like a battle just to stay afloat, and no matter how much you hustle, you can't seem to break free from the cycle of struggle. It's a future filled with the same cycle of scarcity, overshadowed by the elites who seem to hold all the cards. Think of the legacy you're setting for your family, the cycle of hardship that could continue without a transformative and decisive shift. But then, picture the alternative. Envision a life transformed by the power of God's gift to you. It's about so much more than just the personal wealth and success you will personally get. It's about stopping the bad before it even starts. Think about it. Protecting your loved ones from the sleepless nights over bills, from the constant dread of something breaking down and not having the cash to fix it. Imagine keeping them safe from the panic that a sudden illness can bring when you're unsure how to pay for it. Imagine being able to secure their educational future. By choosing this change right now, you're not just reaching for a better life, you're actively shielding your family from the hard knocks and bruises of life's unexpected turns. You're building a fortress of security and health around the ones you love most, all because you dared to step up today. Ask yourself, why should a life of abundance and freedom be reserved for the few? Why should only their children have access to the best of everything? You are just as deserving of wealth, health, and happiness. With just a simple decision, you can start rewriting your story. Imagine erasing debts, attracting fortune, and creating a sanctuary of peace and prosperity. Think of the joy as your relationships flourish and your well-being is restored. And you could even now allow yourself to do things that before were considered a waste of time and money. What if, by employing this powerful invocation thoughtfully and respectfully, as I've mentioned before, you find that fortune favors you much more often, transforming casino nights, horse track visits, or any other activity that used to rely purely on chance into a series of predictable and fortunate events? Imagine the pride in your family's eyes and the astonishment of naysayers as they witness the incredible transformation of your life. See the shock on the faces of those who doubted you when they discover the stunning home you've settled into and the stories of luxurious retreats to serene and beautiful places, all fruits of your newfound path to success. The power to change is at your fingertips, ready to be unleashed by your command. This isn't just about escaping the grind. It's about rising above it, about stepping into a life where you are supported, uplifted, and free. And you know what is the most important thing of all this? It's the fact that it's not by coincidence that God decided that now is the moment to reveal to us the power that can save us from what's coming. And it's coming fast. The world is on the brink of a huge change, bigger than you might think. Goldman Sachs predicts 300 million jobs will be lost or degraded by artificial intelligence. Just pause and think about that. 300 million jobs. That's a huge number, and it's going to cause a domino effect of problems we can hardly picture right now. It's going to be as big of a deal as the biggest events in the Bible, like the Great Flood, the 10 plagues of Egypt, or the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. But there's hope. God is ready to extend a helping hand to those who have faith and want to protect themselves and their families. Are you willing and ready to accept His help? If the answer is yes, click on the Add to Cart button below this video. Download your 77-letter invocation and start a new life for yourself and your loved ones, full of abundance and security. But before I go, I want to answer a few key questions people just like you have had in the past. So, the first one, do you offer a money-back guarantee? Yes, of course. This is so important for you to understand. All our work has no meaning if you are not 100% happy. That's what all this is about. And by the way, I also don't want you to feel pressured. One of the things I personally don't like is when I buy something and the vendor limits me with a short refund period. That's why you have 180 days to try the 77-letter invocation prayer. If for whatever reason, and really, no matter what, you are not happy, just shoot me an email within 180 days of your purchase for a full, no questions asked refund of your money. Remember, this is about you. You need to be happy. Next question is, how often should I recite the 77-letter invocation prayer to see results? Reciting it once per day is sufficient. That being said, I always tell everyone that since it takes less than 30 seconds to recite, feel free to do it more often if you have the time and inclination. But again, not a must. Okay, next question, and I get this one a lot, by the way. Can I recite the 77-letter invocation prayer silently? Absolutely. In fact, that's what I personally do. So yes, feel free to recite it silently. It's as effective as reciting it aloud. What if I miss a day or two of recitation? So, aim to recite the 77-letter invocation prayer at least 3 times a week to maintain consistency. While reciting it more than 3 times a week is beneficial, the minimum for effective results is 3 times weekly. And I'll say it again, it's very short. 30 seconds at most, so if you can, go for it and do it more than 3 times per week. But you don't have to. 3 times per week will maintain the consistency required. Next question is if the time of day matters when you recite the 77-letter invocation prayer. Absolutely not. Recite it at any time that suits you best. Okay, let's move on to the last one. This one I feel is extremely important. I'm not very religious. Will this still work for me? Yes. This divine invocation transcends any single religious belief. It's about acknowledging and connecting with a higher power, the creator of the universe, transcending traditional religious boundaries. I also want to emphasize that this practice is inclusive of everyone, regardless of whether you are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or of any other religious or spiritual background. At its core, it's rooted in universal principles like humility, gratitude, and recognizing life as a miraculous gift, values that are shared across various cultures and beliefs. It's about the recognition of a greater force in life. The invocation is a means of connecting with this force through your intention and openness, regardless of your personal, religious, or spiritual journey. So, whether you identify as religious, spiritual, or are simply open to exploring the deeper aspects of life and willing to accept abundance from a higher power, this invocation prayer is designed to work for you. Within the next 3 minutes, you can literally begin the biggest transformation of your life. These are the final moments of your old life, and I can absolutely guarantee you that. Countless individuals, just like you, found themselves at this very crossroad and took that step forward. Today, their lives are unrecognizable compared to what they were before this pivotal moment. Life has taught me that there's a reason for everything. The true powers of the universe are constantly testing us, often placing us at crossroads. It's as if the universe demands action from us. This moment is one of those crucial crossroads, and I have no doubt that you deserve the abundance you're about to receive. How do I know, you ask? Well, simply because you are here. Others may have chosen a different path at this crossroad, and for them it's too late. But you know this all too well. The universe rewards the decisive. Nature's laws are clear. The strongest, the most decisive, are rewarded. This is your opportunity to claim that reward, and you will be rewarded. Just like the many others who took that step forward. Click on the Add to Cart button below this video. Don't delay your life's transformation by even 1 more second. Life is short, as we all know. Simply download the 77-letter invocation prayer and start reciting it today. This will mark the beginning of experiencing the power of being in complete control of your life and destiny. Welcome aboard, and remember, if there's anything I can assist you with, I'm just an email away.